Chantal Marie Serrault, also known as Foodie Beauty, is a YouTuber who has been embroiled in many controversies over the course of their career. For more than half a decade, Chantal has been making YouTube videos, and for more than half a decade she has put herself in bad situation after bad situation. And every single time she has no one but herself to blame. After finishing my research on this story and understanding just how rough she had it at certain points in her life, I was genuinely surprised that Chantal is still with us. Many people compare her to Amberlynn Reid, and while there are some similarities and crossover at certain points in the timeline, this is a completely different kind of story than Amber's, one that is much darker. Chantal's early life was mired with tragedy and drama, noted as being less than kind to her siblings, and this will be elaborated on later in the timeline when it led to drama. During this time, Chantal was living with her mother and getting into quite a bit of trouble. She became involved with a 21-year-old man who had a pregnant girlfriend, who knew of Chantal and was extremely jealous, even attempting to show up at her school one day to fight her. Due to this relationship and a number of other behavioral problems at the time, Chantal was admitted to a mental health facility. Foodie described her time there as horrific, stating that she was a spoiled brat who was simply seeking attention when these were actual mental patients she was surrounded with. And after a short stay, she desperately wanted to leave and return home to her mother's, only for her mother to say that she was not allowed to come back, forcing Foodie to live in a group home for young adults. The environment in this group home was less than ideal. In fact, Foodie described it as a den of absolute degeneracy, where Foodie would be exposed to a plethora of things that would haunt her for the rest of her life. Foodie would also begin to develop some of the tendencies that we know her best for today, most prominent of which being her many and questionable relationships with men. Throughout this video, you're going to meet many different people who Foodie Beauty has dated, but the first, and probably least known amongst all of these, is Big G, short for The Big G. Big G was a fellow member of the group home who had developed a little bit of a crush on Chantal. Big G suffered from a learning disability of some kind, and Chantal seemed to take full advantage of him. She would proceed to lead Big G on in exchange for food, promising to do things for Big G in exchange for food, only to completely back out of it upon delivery of the meal. Despite all of this, Big G still loved Chantal, and from what I heard was a very pleasant guy. You'll hear a lot of negative things about Chantal's other boyfriends, but it seemed like Big G was one of the good ones, even though he technically wasn't her boyfriend because Chantal was dating someone else at the time. She was still with the aforementioned 21-year-old who had developed a pretty serious drinking problem. And one night, for seemingly no reason, while Foodie, Big G, and this 21-year-old boyfriend were all hanging out, the boyfriend gets up and starts beating the ever-living shit out of Big G for no discernible reason. Chantal was mortified and tried to get her boyfriend to stop, and when he finally did, he decided he was going to leave. In the aftermath of this event, Chantal would get into an entanglement with Big G. While she said it was out of pity for what her boyfriend had done, I believe it also could be so that Big G would not press charges. We will never know because this is the last that we ever heard of Big G. But that does not mean that the group home era escapades were over. In fact, they were far from it. She would begin to engage in a number of online relationships with a variety of different people, most notable of which being a man who she catfished into buying her a plane ticket twice, only for them to never meet, and the more infamous incident, the bathroom couple. After catfishing a couple online, lying about both her age and appearance, she would arrive at their home, only to be turned down after the couple realized that they had been catfished. Despite this, the couple would still allow Chantal to spend the night on the couch, as it was late and she had traveled a great distance to meet them. But this would not be the end of the story. she would get up in the middle of the night needing to use the restroom, and absolute chaos would ensue.
I don't think I should have shown up there drunk because I was like, hey, you know, it's probably so annoying. So, you know, they were the girlfriend was just kind of like, from the get-go, the girlfriend, I don't know what her problem was. If she either didn't wasn't attracted to me, or she didn't like me, and she was jealous. You know what I mean? Because the whole night she was like looking at me like she didn't pay attention to me. She would just give me dirty looks. And then the guy was like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna go to bed. Sorry, we're just really tired, you know. I was like, okay. So he's like, here, I'll set you up your own little space. Like, he was nice. And I remember trying to sleep and looking out the window, and everything was spinning. Like, it was just spinning and spinning and spinning and spinning. And oh my god. So I ran like through the little hall, and it was a small bathroom apartment. So their bedroom was right there beside the bathroom. I'm like, they're gonna hear everything. They find the bathroom. So it comes out both ends. And I had a skirt on. And a G-string. The barf goes projectile all over their wall. The poop goes all over their floor. No towels, no paper towel anywhere in the bathroom. No toilet paper. So at this point, I was like panicking. But they didn't wake up. They were still sleeping somehow. I didn't hear any movement. I didn't know what to do.
During another interaction with a couple that she had met online, she would describe the female as being smelly, stating that her bodily hygiene was some of the poorest that she had ever seen. Despite this, Chantal would still go through with it, bringing it up every once in a while during her storytime mukbangs. Another infamous incident of Chantal becoming entangled with someone she probably shouldn't have would be the infamous homeless man. She didn't even remember this guy's name, just the night that they shared together beside a lake.
So, my homeless lover, as I'm walking home, I see this guy. He wasn't too scruffy looking, but he was kind of scruffy, you know. So we start talking, and I was just like, I was attracted to him, you know. And I think he just really wanted some or something, you know. So like, let's go sit on the rock and, have a cigarette. You know, my cigarettes, but whatever. He was homeless, give him a break. Got to find out he was homeless, and he told me a bit about himself. He said got kicked out at his dad's. His dad was an abusive asshole. So he's been couch surfing, but his friend's girlfriend was like, you can't stay here, So there he was, in between places. So he was gonna just wander around and sleep on a park bench, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't really care. I was just like, give me that D.
Chantal would have encounters like this for years, and has slowly told us every single one of these stories through one of her Storytime Mukbang YouTube videos. But upon meeting her first legitimate boyfriend, Peetz, she would do a number of things that would define her in the years to follow. Soon after starting the relationship with Peetz, Chantal would move in with him, and realize that he was almost the exact opposite of what she was looking for in a romantic partner. While Peetz thoroughly loved Chantal, it seemed like she had none for him, even starting another relationship with a man named Paul. Paul was incredibly bad to Chantal, and would even end up sleeping with one of her friends. Peetz knew about all of this, and despite it, he would remain with Chantal, even telling her that she could have relationships with other men because he loved her so much and wanted her to be happy. Despite all of the concessions that Peetz had made, it was not enough for Chantal. She needed more in her life, and began to see a man named Bibi. And she would fall head over heels for Bibi, breaking things off with Peetz and Paul. Another massive thing that would happen would be the start of her YouTube channel. Initially known as Chantal, the content would consist of low-quality beauty videos and mukbangs, some of which would feature Bibi, who we would get to know better as time went on. Bibi is a man from Senegal and was a practicing Muslim. He was very soft-spoken and often seemed disinterested in Chantal. He would be featured in a great number of her videos, but not all of them, mainly the ones being about Chantal's weight loss journey. For a short while her channel was just beginning, Chantal would claim that she was going to embark on a fitness journey, posting a vast number of videos pertaining to the concept, only to delete every single video a short while after, and claim that her channel was no longer about weight loss. But she wasn't just deleting videos, she was also deleting comments and responding to people, raging at people who were critical of her failed weight loss journey, and making a number of statements which were either inflammatory or untrue. This is when people began to realize that this was a cycle that repeated itself unto eternity, with members of Hater Nation creating a helpful chart to display the Chantal cycle to all of those who do not understand it. As you can see, the Chantal cycle consists of 4 parts: weight loss attempt, breakdown, binge, and awakening. Stage 1 of the cycle is the weight loss attempt, consisting of things like counting calories, lecture videos, and soft-spoken healthy grocery hauls. The second part of the cycle is what I consider to be the most entertaining, and it is called the breakdown, consisting of things like community section purges, comment purges, blaming everyone else for her actions but herself, and videos admitting that she failed the diet and has been binging off camera. The third part of the cycle is called the binge, and it is the full-blown fallout and culmination of all of the things that Chantal has been up to in previous stages of the cycle. It consists of things like comments and video ratings being disabled, a drop in subscriber and view count, and fast food mukbangs. Then we have part 4, the awakening. Emotional videos involving crying, admitting she can't go on like this, comments are re-enabled, apologizing to the people she's attacked, admitting it was wrong to go back to filming mukbangs, and plans of a new diet. As you can see, this vicious cycle perfectly repeats itself. The slow transition of good thoughts and plans into disastrous meltdowns and rages, with the top half of the circle being extremely positive while the bottom half is Chantal at her worst. Chantal will always be at some point in this cycle no matter where I am in this video, sometimes going through the cycle quicker than usual, especially when she was under increased pressure due to a controversy. The year was 2018. Chantal and Bibi were living the dream life, with her YouTube channel even beginning to see some increased success. But things would not remain perfect forever, as a couple of posts would pop up on the Kiwi Farms with some allegations against her. This Kiwi Farms user claimed that they were close to Chantal during their childhood, and described Chantal as treating her siblings very badly, as well as revealing that her grandmother had been supporting her financially. All of this would send Chantal into a rage. She would dox the Kiwi Farms user and threaten to call CPS to take her 2 children away, all because she had been critical of Chantal. She would also find herself quickly embroiled in yet another controversy with a content creator called Zachary Michael. Zachary Michael had made a video talking about Foodie Beauty and Amberlynn Reed, including Chantal's image in the thumbnail. She didn't like this one bit and would leave Zachary a nasty comment under the video. So if you don't take my pic out of your thumbnail, I will claim copyright because I am that bitch. You need my permission, which you do not have. And if you are concerned about my mean comment, but you have seen the other comments below, By the way, your videos are painfully dry. Zachary Michael would respond with, "The Chantal show, didn't you say in your video today that you were going to stop caring about the so-called haters?" She never did, and months later would find herself in yet another controversy which did involve copyright claims. For those who don't know, it's kind of an unspoken rule between YouTube content creators that we don't copyright claim each other. Unless it's a blatant one-for-one rip of their product, it's usually a bad idea to do it, especially since the channels covering Chantal were both transformative and well within the means of fair use. So later in the year, when she filed copyright claims on a channel called Spitting Drama Llama, there would be some issues. Spitting Drama Llama would try to reach out to Chantal, stating that there was no ill will, even offering to remove all of the content featuring Foodie on her channel. Spitting Drama Llama did not want to go through with the appeal process, and I can say that I do not blame them. The appeal process here on YouTube requires us to give our full legal name and current address to whoever copyright strikes us. It's either your information or your lawyers, because a copyright claim is basically stating that you want to take this person to court for stealing your content. YouTube will almost always automatically remove this content to admit themselves from any liability. All of this has caused the copyright claim system on YouTube to be used as a weapon by certain trolls, and in this instance, Foodie would be one of them. She has doxed people in the past, even threatening to call CPS on someone critical of her. I do not blame Spitting Drama Llama in the slightest for not wanting to give Chantal her full name and address. I would just like to let everyone know who is a content creator that there are cheaper options for lawyers out there, and I have dealt with numerous of these claims, only giving them the address of my legal representation. Upon copyright striking Spitting Drama Llama, Foodie Beauty was emboldened, and she would go on to copyright strike Zachary Michael like she had promised. And after a second copyright strike, he would private all of his videos to avoid channel termination at the hands of Foodie's false copyright strike. Foodie was now fully confident that she could deal with almost any channel critical of her through the copyright strike system, only to reach a roadblock when she was met with the owner of the Kiwi Farms, Noel. Noel would stream Foodie Beauty's content to around 2,000 people, and he dared her to copyright strike him, because on screen he had all of the necessary info that he would be giving YouTube to fight this, stating that he would do everything possible to get a strike on her for her copyright abuse if she even dared to touch the stream. This took the wind right out of her sails, and was seemingly the end of the current copyright striking saga, and the beginning of yet another weight loss journey that Chantal was going to embark on. In January of 2019, she began to talk about something called a water fast, receiving a lot of backlash for the supposedly negative implications of said fast, causing her to swiftly quit her fitness journey. You'll often see Chantal begin to do something and face a slight amount of pushback only to completely roll back on what she was planning. I believe it is an integral transitionary period of the Chantal cycle. 2019 was the year of the weight loss journeys for Foodie Beauty. The talk of weight loss would be off and on as she would quit and start weight loss journeys often, at one point even asking to do a challenge with Amberlynn Reid, who was currently attempting weight loss of her own. For those who know Amberlynn Reid lore, 2019 is one of her darkest years, and it makes sense that she would agree to start this weight loss journey with Foodie, with both of them continuing their mukbang content as this supposed challenge went on. Chantal's channel was steadily increasing in popularity. The small crossovers with Amberlynn Reid were helping, and so was having Bibi on camera. The audience had grown quite fond of Bibi as he seemed to want nothing to do with Chantal's nonsense, and the cracks that had appeared for a long time had only deepened as the years rolled on. Bibi stated his desire to have a large number of children, something which Chantal had absolutely no interest in doing. They would also begin to be unfaithful to each other, with not only Bibi becoming entangled with other people, but also Chantal, even discussing it for the whole internet to talk about.
There's some secrets I have, some skeletons in my closet that are really bothering me, and I have nightmares about them. So my question to you is, do you think since it's so long ago, and maybe this person would just be better, I mean, they'd be happier not knowing this information? In an ignorance is bliss kind of way, but I'm sure deep down they would want to know the truth. I cheated with someone. Over and over. Like the entire relationship almost. Like I had an affair with someone while I was with someone. I am a cheater. I had an affair on Bibi. Actually, I had a couple affairs on Bibi. It's not funny. I feel like an asshole and he's gonna hate me. But I was a piece of shit. And he was ignoring me a lot.
Due to a number of problems in their relationship, Chantal and Bibi would call it quits in the year of 2020, marking not only a new era of her life, but Foodie Beauty content as a whole. Because after leaving Bibi, she would return to an old friend. It was back to Peetz's house, and this time she was going to take full advantage of his hospitality. Peetz was basically a servant to Chantal. He would get her DoorDash and support her lifestyle, only for her to seek the affections of almost any man but him. This put Peetz under a vast amount of pressure, financial and emotional, causing him to gain internet notoriety as a result. Peetz would start creating his own content, and it was quickly revealed that he would rage at almost any critical comment. Behavior like this would eventually lead to the rise of a dedicated community of people archiving Peetz's rage.
Katie Marie, just off. Go. You know, Katie Marie, one more shit comment and I'm just blocking you, okay? Last chance. Like one chance here. Shut the fuck up or I'm just gonna straight up blocking you. You're an asshole. You're a prick who's just trying to piss me off. Christ! What did she say? A whole lot of bullshit. She said absolutely nothing but bullshit. The rumors are bullshit, Unlimited! Fuck off! Christ!
This era of Foodie Beauty content would consist of mukbangs and storytime videos, as well as the occasional Peetz or Chantal rage. The chat was now fully aware that they could do anything to get under both of their skins, and would take advantage of this often. Chantal didn't realize it, but this was the beginning of a downward spiral that would consume her for the next few years of her life. She began to act even more erratic, making comments about her haters that ended her up in even more hot water. She was reinvigorating old beefs with people like Spitting Drama Llama and Zachary Michael, and starting new ones, creating even more enemies for herself on the platform, becoming well known for copyright striking anybody at the drop of a hat. She had evolved into an infamous internet character, losing almost all real support that she had in the process, and the few fans she had remaining would be tested with the upcoming saga, one that would be without a doubt the darkest in Foodie Beauty history. After Bibi left, Chantal had to move back in with Peetz, but that did not mean by any stretch of the imagination that they were in a relationship. In fact, Chantal had made it quite clear to Peetz that she was not at all interested, and would begin to talk about a new man who she was seeing in her life. In an attempt to hide his identity, she would simply refer to him as Dom, or the Egyptian man sometimes. She said that Dom was a bad boy, even even for her. And as she began to describe her relationship to her audience, it became quite clear just exactly what was going on. Chantal was either paying this guy or giving him gifts for his time, seemingly involved in a sugar baby kind of situation. They would also partake in a various number of substances which Chantal would become quite fond of, and they would soon become dependent on each other. Dom needed Chantal for money, and she needed Dom to support her habit. Though she was still living with Peetz, she became thoroughly involved with this Dom character, describing him as a violent and forceful person with a number of problems. Her escapades with Dom nearly resulted in her death numerous times. This relationship was not at all perfect. They would get into fights all the time, breaking things off only to get back together, when either Dom needed some money or Foodie had the itch. Make no mistake, she had fully developed a habit, even coming clean to her audience in a moment of clarity when her and Dom were broken up.
I think I'm in like denial. I was trying to go through the day and just like, be normal and cook and everything, but I just can't. I just don't want to. I'm so sorry. Oh my god, I need Kleenex. Hold on. I haven't even told my close internet friends. Like, all of you are gonna be like, what the f***, you know? But I'm not okay. It's nothing to do with Dom. I'm not seeing him anymore. This is completely just me right now. So I don't want you to think that has to do with that. But oh my god, I don't know how to say it. I don't know how to say it because I know a lot of you are not gonna believe that I'm addicted to. Like, I'm stupid. I was cocky, you know, starts with a couple lines and then you're like, oh, it's just for partying, and then I just started, you know, started doing it by myself, like not with anybody, just having an 8-ball in my drawer and just doing it.
Soon after this, not only would Dom and Foodie Beauty get back together, but the true identity of Dom would also be revealed, introducing us to a brand new character in the Foodie Beauty verse, and possibly one of the most unhinged. Dom would be revealed to be a man named Nader. Nader had a criminal record and was clearly a very poor influence on Chantal, but in an attempt to make good out of a bad situation, Foodie encouraged Nader to start a YouTube channel of his own, where we would get a glimpse at just how unhealthy this relationship was. It was very clear that these were two people who desperately needed each other, but had an underlying sense of hate that was slowly building. The relationship was not helped by events like in October of 2021 when Chantal caught a virus that rhymes with diarrhea. Stating that she had been faithful to Nader, there was only one explanation: that Nader had cheated and she would flame him openly on social media for it. Even though this was near undefinable proof, Nader swore up and down that he had not cheated, and eventually Chantal believed him. The relationship would continue to sour and at points get physical, resulting in Nader ending up on probation for these actions, only deepening the resentment that he felt for Chantal, and further emboldening him to look for other sources of income. The few remaining fans that Chantal had were extremely concerned for the current situation she found herself in. Nader had previously stabbed a girlfriend of his, and people were afraid that with this deteriorating relationship that she might be next. Despite all of this, she would continue to make YouTube channels defending him.
You know, I'm like a refugee, and this happened, I went to prison. Like, he told me about his prison, and the way he made it sound like he was the victim. Like, he was like set up, he was like, there was a phone with evidence on it that she was like crazy, and this was her fault, but they lost the phone, and like he gave me like a huge sob story about it. I was surprised by the allegations. Yeah, I was shocked, like, but a part of me was like, why is it so easy to believe? Like, because he's that, like, because I know deep down he's probably that type of person, like, who, well, now we know he is.
She would even buy Nader a new laptop, proving that she had moved past all the previous terrible behavior, metaphorically giving the finger to anyone who is concerned about her relationship with this obviously violent man. This is when you'll see the rise of some of Chantal's most vehement haters. People who feel spurned because at one point they really did care for her, and they wanted to see this ship turn around, to go in a positive direction, only to be specifically called out and shamed for their concern. This time period is the vat of acid that makes the Joker for Chantal. Nader would be responsible for problems she doesn't even blame him for. This time period was nothing but bad for her health and her image. People began speculating that she bought him the laptop because the relationship was on the rocks, as she had been noted to do these sugar baby-like things before to keep men around. But despite her best efforts, Nader would still end up leaving Chantal. He left her for another woman named Didi, and much like Peetz, these two would embark on their own social media ventures, though they would be much darker. But even though Nader had left Chantal, didn't mean that it was the end of this saga, nor their entanglement. It is widely speculated that Nader met Didi, his new girlfriend, in the comments section of Chantal's videos. Didi has way too much insider info to not be a previous fan or hater of Chantal's, and I believe this aspect would only escalate the beef between Didi, Nader, and Foodie Beauty. Foodie would begin to follow their every move and criticize them every chance that she got. This only worsened when all three of them ended up spending the night together in a moment of peace. This only led to increased feelings of jealousy from Chantal, who would often discuss the two's hygiene.
Fast forward and play to Didi saying that you were fucking the whole time, because I knew you were a liar. And I'm so glad I didn't sacrifice my fucking for you. I'm not talking about them. Outing their bullshit is not talking about them. No, that's the difference. No, Naderall. I can't take credit for that, but whoever the did that is... Even though Naderall kindly requested... See, this is the thing. He's trying to be like, I ask you... friends with benefits didn't work. Friends didn't work. All of these things didn't work because you were a cheating, lying asshole, abusive asshole the whole time. No shit, none of those things worked. Like, oh my god. It made me delusional thinking that it was like a normal relationship. Oh god. Anyway, won't go there. They look like a couple, like I like a couple with like, I can't even think. Because I act loving, like more loving with random strangers, I swear. Didi is trashy.
Despite all of this talk, Chantal would still obsessively follow them on social media, so much to the point where Didi and Nader ended up filing complaints with the police. Chantal would regularly get drunk on stream and call Nader non-stop. She knew his phone number, she knew where he lived, and she had a massive social media following. All of this caused Didi and Nader to move to Montreal, where they would continue their own story of degeneracy. Despite Nader doing almost everything he could to cut Chantal out of his life, she would still dox the family members of Didi that they went to live with in Montreal, even targeting Didi's elderly mother's nursing home. It just goes to further prove that Chantal has absolutely no issues doxing and copyright striking people to silence them, or to gain some kind of twisted sense of revenge. Chantal's content now consisted of her getting drunk and going live to yell at Nader and Didi. Nader and Didi would stream snipe Chantal, and it would only inflame the situation. Amberlynn Reid would even give her 2 cents, saying that she stood with Chantal in this drama, only to appear in a Nader livestream acting friendly with people who openly disliked Chantal, appearing sympathetic towards what Nader had gone through with her. This would be the end of Foodie Beauty and Amberlynn Reed's friendship. Chantal saw this as a betrayal and an insult, and Amber used it as an excuse to negatively discuss Chantal on her YouTube channel for views. Eventually, Foodie Beauty would cut off all contact with Amberlynn. The year was now 2022, and it was the spring. Chantal was still living with Peetz and raging about Nader and Didi. She was making good money off of YouTube, so she decided to take a fancy vacation to clear her head, deciding on Cuba. During her vacation in Cuba, she would go live, and during one night, she would live stream for about 5 hours, creating one of the most infamous pieces of media she ever has. It would be referred to as the Cuba Rage, and it would consist of Chantal slowly getting more angry about the Didi and Nader situation, getting drunk and having meltdowns.
Especially Didi. Him too. He blocked me again. He unblocked me because he knows he needs my money. And then he blocked me again and made fun of his little girlfriend with a smelly pussy. Yeah, that's right. So, I'm not gonna talk to you again anyway. He's not worth the literal shit that comes out of my asshole. He's not worth it. And neither is Didi. Doo-doo, a doo-doo piece of shit diarrhea. Fucking IBS diarrhea having ass bitch. They're not worth it. Oh, let's go to the gym and play house, Didi. Let's make smoothies, Didi. You fucking people. I just hate the fact that I did so for somebody, and they felt it. So because I did so much for somebody, they felt it necessary. It wasn't enough. They felt it necessary to go get more from someone else even more desperate. That's what pisses me off. You don't even know. You don't know. They're gonna drive me crazy. You know that? They don't know it. It's too bad they don't know.
The Cuba Rage encapsulates Foodie Beauty as a whole. It explains why so many people are interested in following her story. Things will start off so normally, and then descend into absolute chaos. One minute she will just be doing a mukbang, the next minute she'll be telling one of the worst stories of her life. One minute she's fine, raging at the haters, the next she's crying about Nader and Didi. Chantal's content is all over the place, and none less than in this time period. She always seems to be in a bigger spiral when she is without a solid boyfriend, drinking far more, and partaking in the negative parts of the cycle more frequently. This was the status quo after Cuba, until seemingly out of nowhere, a new boyfriend emerged, one who Foodie would find herself with to the current day. But this does not at all mean that their relationship would be easy. The new love interest was a man from Kuwait named Salah. They met on a dating app, and after 1 week of speaking to each other, there was already talks of marriage. Upon starting the relationship with Salah, Foodie Beauty began to wear hijab, a traditional Muslim body covering. She would also delete nearly all of the YouTube content on her channel that doesn't include her in hijab. She would also fully dedicate herself to Salah. Within a month of them knowing each other, she would go to visit him in Kuwait and realize that for once she had been catfished. Salah had promised her that he came from money and was living in a mansion, only to discover upon arriving in Kuwait that Salah stayed in a studio apartment and that Foodie would be the main breadwinner for the family. The wider community also began to speculate that Chantal had possibly fled Canada for tax evasion purposes, as she had no intention of leaving Kuwait. Rumors were further inflamed by the fact that within a couple months of knowing each other, Salah and Foodie Beauty would be married in a courthouse ceremony. After the marriage, Salah would begin to negatively engage with Foodie Beauty's community, defending Chantal on nearly everything and earning the ire of all of her detractors almost instantly. All of this only emboldened the people who disliked Chantal the most, and when 2023 rolled around, shit would really hit the fan in that regard. During 2023, Foodie Beauty found herself in a new bit of controversy. This time, it would be over the health of her cats. You see, Foodie Beauty had a couple of cats that she had left back in Canada with Peetz. That's right, she left Peetz to take care of her cats while she went and married another man halfway across the world, and Peetz wasn't the most stable person ever himself. So people began to realize on live streams that these cats were suffering from a number of health issues. People began discussing it so thoroughly in his chat that Peetz would have a major breakdown, telling people to mind their own business. The cats were fine.
Just shut the f up, people! For f sake! The cat is fine! Jesus Christ, you people are just goddamn tedious! Like Christ, just shut the f. She's fine! The cat is fine! She's fine, you idiot!
Let's run back to a couple minutes ago when I talked about how Nader would cause problems for Chantal that she didn't even realize yet. This would be proven true during this whole cat debacle. A previous fan of Chantal's named French Fried Girl would begin to call her out on the situation with her cats, creating a large number of YouTube videos and live streams over Chantal and the situation. French Fried Girl would also be integral in a plot to save Chantal's cat from Peetz's care. Through what is nothing short of a Jedi mind trick, French Fried Girl convinced somebody to go in there and acquire the cat from Peetz under a totally different excuse. Surprisingly, this all worked, and the cat was saved and taken to get proper medical care. This enraged Chantal, and she would threaten all kinds of legal action if the cat that she wasn't even currently taking care of was not returned.
Psycho bitch. I'm glad you did this. You know why? Because you're going to be arrested. You have 1 day. You have till tomorrow morning to bring me back BBJ. So you have until tomorrow morning, bitch, to bring me back my cat, or else I'm calling the police. And you will, because I did not give you the cat. You are my stalker. You are my stalker. You have till tomorrow morning. You have till tomorrow morning. You disgusting, depraved human being. Yes, it's my cat, Babs. You, asshole. Goodbye. I didn't give it to FFG, so what they did is illegal. What they did is fraudulent. Whenever I call the police and tell them that this harasser who's been stalking me and harassing me for however long has my cat, are you serious? I don't care if it's your relative. She's gonna give the cat back. Trust me. Watch. Watch. What do you mean 5 pads? Shut the f. I have receipts of me. I know you all think it's really, really cool to see me like this right now, right? You're sick human beings, all right? You're sick. If you get pleasure and give money to this bitch who literally stole my cat, you're up.
The cat was never returned, and French Fried Girl never faced any of the legal consequences that Chantal had threatened. But this would nowhere near be the end of their legendary feud, because French Fried Girl would go down as one of the greatest haters in Hater Nation. even meeting Foodie in real life at one point, going to a plus-sized fashion show that she was a part of, and confronting her on camera about a number of issues. Despite all of this, life would return to somewhat normal, or at least what the new normal was for Foodie. She was now living in Kuwait, a place where she had no one but Salah, and it showed in her content as it was extremely boring when she did not include him. Despite the controversy that she had just found herself in, Foodie Beauty would end up adopting another cat while in Kuwait. It might come as a shock to some, but this cat would also be the center of another controversy. But all of that would take a back seat because there were accusations of Salah being unfaithful to Foodie. An image would surface of Salah sitting in a room that was tinted red next to a woman who clearly wasn't Foodie Beauty. The validity of this image is still disputed, but quickly became a meme amongst the Foodie Beauty detractor community, with Salah and his red room being the topic of many discussions. Just like she had done with Nader, she took Salah's word for it and believed that he was still faithful in the relationship. But none of these dramas really had time to develop because Foodie was finding herself in controversy after controversy. She would defend infamous internet content creator Cyrax, who has been accused of a number of heinous things. This prompted a response from some of Cyrax's most vehement trolls, mainly one being Music Biz Marty. All of this would accumulate in Marty doxing Chantal's mother's residence, and Chantal doxing Marty right back. In her community post where she doxed Music Biz Marty, she criticized him for a number of physical features, which her community swiftly pointed out that they shared. Overall, it was just a bad time for Foodie Beauty, with the drama fizzling out after Foodie had involved authorities due to the doxing of her mother. Soon after this drama died down, Salah and Foodie would take a trip to Thailand, where the content mainly subsisted of Chantal staying in the hotel room where Salah went God knows where. Chantal claimed that she could not do much walking, and this was the primary mode of transportation that they had to use in the country. Needless to say, the jokes about Salah and the Red Room were flooding in when he would disappear. The content they did capture was in a more positive light, along the vein of a travel channel. It seemed like it might be a new era of Foodie Beauty content, but sadly, it wasn't, and she just returned to mukbangs. When they returned to Kuwait, she would reveal that she had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and fans would accuse her of milking her condition for views as she would often clickbait her diagnosis. A month later, she would return to Canada claiming it was for much-needed healthcare and that Salah could come see her whenever she wanted. But while in Canada, Salah would be caught in yet another cheating scandal with the troll of Chantal's. In December of 2023, Salah was caught sending explicit images and asking for them to be sent to him. He had met a detractor of Foodie Beauties online and struck up somewhat of an internet relationship with them, with said relationship eventually leading to these explicit messages. The messages are Salah making a number of disturbing and filthy requests from this woman. These messages are quite graphic, so I'm just going to give you some of the cliff notes. There are aspects of a god complex, obsession with filth, and the enjoyment of degradation of others.
Hey Sharmuta, don't forget to clean the bathrooms with your tongue, okay? Slut. You're gonna be under my shoes forever and ever. Well, I feel like I'm talking to a real dog, a real slave, a pure dog. I'm gonna shit on you and spit on your face.
It was undeniable proof that Salah was behind these messages. You could hear his voice, you could see his profiles. Though he had not actually cheated on Foodie this time, he had made such an embarrassment out of their relationship he might as well have. Detractors of Foodie Beauty began to go wild with this information, and eventually it would reach Chantal's ears. While initially denying it, after seeing the undisputable proof, she accepted the reality that Salah had attempted to cheat on her, and that he might not be the man that she had come to know in this past year. Soon after accepting the reality, she would go live and discuss the situation.
It's over. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. You know what's funny? He wanted me to protect him and not go live and say that it was him. I'm not gonna talk about anything about our private relationship, but you know when you can't talk. Why would I protect you when you've done nothing but kill me? Oh my god. He cheated on me. He admitted it today. He was talking in a sexual way with K Bella. K Bella, you're a trashy. I hope you know that. And what you did will come back to you 1,000. You'll never find love. You'll never find a man. Yeah, what the thank you so much? Oh, he just messaged me that. Good, you deserve it. You deserve everything. You deserve more than that. He's mad that I'm outing him. I'm never, ever, men, I'm done. I'm never, ever. Kuwait arc is over. I don't even believe in God right now. Why am I wearing a fucking hijab? I don't believe in anything anymore. So it's over. Like, who the does that? Who, number one, goes to somebody who's married and tries to taunt them? And apparently, his caveat. But I said I would never leave you and I love you. For me, I know I cheated in the past. And trust me, I learned my lesson. I felt like such a fucking piece of shit. Like I hope you feel like now. I don't even want to know your deviant shit. I hope Allah curses you.
Keep in mind that during all of this, Foodie Beauty has returned to Canada, claiming that she's there to get medical help and see family. While there, halfway across the world, her husband is attempting to cheat on her. She could have just stayed in Canada and dropped the whole thing, began a new chapter in her life, maybe even moved back in with Peetz. She talked about getting a divorce, even making a couple videos on it. But just as she had always done, she took him back. The same thing had happened with Bibi, the same thing had happened with Nader, the same thing was now happening with Salah. Chantal might have been in a completely different country with a completely new look, but at her core, she was still the same person. So she went back to Kuwait to be with Salah and try to fix things. During the whole time that Foodie had been filming him, Salah tried to paint himself as some kind of suave gentleman. There was almost a sense of arrogance about him. But after the cheating scandal, his reputation was thoroughly torched, and people make fun of him for it to this day. That didn't mean there weren't consequences for Salah. Chantal completely forbade him from using the internet for a couple of months, but she would still defend him despite knowing what he had done. She would also wait over a month before bringing him back on camera, where her primary form of content still is mukbangs despite her diagnosis of type 2 diabetes. The relationship with Salah is rapidly deteriorating. She would post about how she was moving back to Canada forever only to quickly return to Kuwait, leading detractors to assume that she was doing this for some sort of visa purposes, that she could not stay in Kuwait forever and had to return to Canada occasionally. And they also accused her of using this for clickbait and to farm views. She still claims that it is either health issues, to visit her family, or her and Salah are having problems. Foodie Beauty would also see a substantial drop in views recently. Her deleting vast portions of her content does not help anything. But it's also that people have grown bored with the same kind of content that she has been producing for over half a decade now. She had seen a true resurgence of popularity during the Nader era because people were so concerned with the drama. But other than the recent cheating allegations, which can get pretty crazy, Salah has been a normal guy online. Nader was a maniac with a criminal history who was a horrible influence on Foodie Beauty. Peetz was a man who had severe internal rage and allowed Chantal to use him every which way. And even Bibi, with his no-nonsense attitude, was entertaining. I think the severe drop in views has everything to do with entertainment factor. I forget who I saw comment this, but it was somewhere else. I'm not taking credit at all. They said that Chantal was now in a vicious cycle of eating food on camera just because she needed to make enough money to eat more food on camera, basically meaning that her income is a shadow of its former self, leading to the more clickbait-oriented titles and the crazy travel trips to Thailand. It would also lead to a resurgence in weight loss talk, only to quickly walk it back. Like I said, no matter where you're at in this video, you're inevitably at one stage in the Chantal cycle. Recently, she hasn't really been up to much, except for getting in yet another feud over her new cat. YouTube channel and live streamer French Fried Girl would yet again call out Chantal for her improper care of her cat. This was the same YouTuber who had previously removed Chantal's cat from the care of Peetz, and they have been critical over Chantal not getting her cat fixed, as well as a number of other health issues that they accuse it of facing. And though she might be in a new country with a new look, it's still the same Chantal, recently making a video about the new cat situation and alluding to legal action.
So I hope you have your pearls ready to be clutched, because this is going to be this kind of video. And when it comes to my pet care, people like to clutch their pearls over every little thing. And that's what I'm going to discuss today. I'm going to tell you the full story about Julia, and then I'm not going to talk about it anymore. So basically what's going on is I'm now being accused of being an animal abuser because my cat has not been spayed yet. And she has been given 2 times, not once or 3 times, it's 2 times, I don't know what they call it, a progestin shot. The vet was the one who suggested the shot for now, and saw that she had like a skin condition we had no idea about, that he wanted to be fixed up first. So we had to take her where she gets her nails trimmed, get her a couple of these, the special shampoo to wash her skin.
Foodie Beauty's story has for sure been one of the more dark I have covered on the channel, with many details having to be omitted or alluded to because of YouTube's guidelines. She has lived an incredibly hard life, full of struggle, but at the same time, she has been her own worst enemy, putting herself in a large majority of these situations because she has a taste in some of the worst men she can find. You'll notice that I have chaptered this video based on her previous boyfriends and roommates, because you'll see a pattern that it has just been one poor decision after the next. Bibi may have loved Chantal at one point, but it clearly was not going to last. Peetz really did love her and would have done nearly anything for her, to the point where she used him so bad it's nearly turned him insane. Nader used her in every sense of the word, financially, emotionally, every sense, just to move on to his next victim, and God only knows what Salah's intentions are. After hearing those messages he sent, there is a dark side to that guy. I know it. And I doubt the end of his and Chantal's relationship will be amicable. And I assume future sagas to be some of the most entertaining. She currently finds herself living in Kuwait, married to Salah. People in Hater Nation accuse that she is improperly caring for her cat and also a tax evader. Though things are better than when she was with Nader, they're definitely not the best. She has no one in Kuwait but Salah, and her source of income is rapidly diminishing. I don't know what the future holds for Foodie Beauty, but I do know what she's done in the past, constantly putting herself in bad situations. Much like the Chantal cycle, I believe this will never change.